Batman and Robin, Year 1, Issue 7, Mark Waid writing with Chris Samnee on the art. So a little bit of a break before we get to this issue. It's nice to have it back. Obviously, we were really building up Batman's awareness of Clayface in the last part of this. And this issue begins with said Clayface getting chewed out by Grimaldi for leaving Batman alive, which, you know, Clayface keeps pointing out, I wasn't paid to kill Batman. Like, that wasn't part of my job description. So he's not very amused at his answers. And he's also not very amused that at the end of the scene, Clayface changes his face to look like him. And he yells and like, you think that's funny? And like, you know, kicks him out and like, hey, you're on thin ice. Go do what you've been told. Not
amused. Not amused. What's his name?
Grimaldi.
Grimaldi, yeah. The general. That's what I was trying to... I couldn't remember his rank. I kept wanting to go with the captain, but he's not a captain, he's a general. Yeah, the general was not amused. And then he's really mean to his dad. Yeah.
Do you remember that scene from a few issues ago where he was literally had his dad at the edge of the building and he was like, oh, I could just throw you off here. Like, I could just do this anytime I want.
Yeah, but you like, here it's felt more personal as he's standing over him. And, you know, I don't know. Tell him you served to bear witness to a triumph you could never achieve. Like, man, just, you should have... Speak your dad in basketball. You don't got to do this. But yeah. I do like that's his motivation, is he wants to be better than his dear old dad. He'll take over crime in Gotham.
Are you suggesting that he wheel his dad onto a basketball court and just start throwing balls at the hoops while he sits there?
No. Look, man, there's no rule in the book that says a man in a wheelchair can't play basketball. All right? But yeah, no, just his whole...
But he's not just in a wheelchair, though. He doesn't move. He doesn't even smile.
No, I know. I couldn't pass up the Air Bud meme, you know? But yeah, he's just very, I don't know. Like, all the villains are evil. This seems like there's just a little bit extra. And who knows what his dad did? Maybe he had a terrible upbringing and it's all justified. Well, but I don't know.
They get into
Wade's done a very good job at making him a villain.
They get into some of it later, though. They do talk about some of this.
Yeah.
When they talk about the backstory of it, why basically he abandoned his son and got rid of him, and that he took that personally, shall we say. Some Grimaldi rose up through the ranks and, you know, came back with a good eye for politics, a good eye for leadership, and kind of, you know, took over everything. The big thing revealed at the end of this scene, though, is that Two-Face bugged the old man's wheelchair, so he's listening to every conversation, and we also hear that they're going to kill Clayface after he's served his purpose. Like, that's the whole plan here. So, you know, we get like a montage effectively of Batman and Robin, you know, taking out various bad guys, looking into things over the course of a week. And then they're done, and they're talking about getting food and whatnot. But Batman goes to rescue Bert and Ellie, right? One of the crime bosses.
Right.
And said
Helena's dad, right? Traditionally?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Well,
now Helena is a Wayne, right? Is Bertelli still around?
Helena's not a Wayne. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and the Huntress that was running around a while ago, right? She was Helena, but she was a Wayne. That was Catwoman, Batman at the time. Time displaced. We haven't really seen Huntress around, have we?
Okay, right. But you're confusing things here. Right, yes. And Batman Catwoman, yes, there was a Helena Wayne from the future, right? But that's pretty out of continuity. Let's not count that. Huntress in Gotham has been Bert and Ellie for decades.
Yes. But have we had that version in a while?
It's been a little while, but I don't think it's been that long that you can...
Okay. But she's still around, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, if this... Yeah, okay.
I don't think she's been written out of continuity, if that's what you're asking.
Yes. That's what I'm wondering. I'm just making sure. You know,
I don't...
Timey-wimey, but, you know.
I don't...
But anyways... I mean, one of the Gotham crime families, right?
She was in that book post Rebirth. There was Batgirl and the Birds of Prey early Rebirth, and she was in that. To give you an example.
Right. Well, she was also part of the tower, right? She was the one they sent in. That's the last time I remember seeing her.
That's right. Yeah, that's like a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So, anyways, So after they go into the restaurant, and again, Wade has Robin give another really good quip. He goes, "I'm not really feeling like Italian." And Batman's like, "We're not here for dinner. We're here to do work," which I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a bomb under the table. He basically tries to. I mean, he kind of threatens that he won't disarm it, but he's like, "Hey, this was put here by Grimaldi. He wants all you mobs fighting each other. You know, basically declare peace, stop the infighting, stop the fighting with the other gangs. He's the real enemy. He wants you to take each other out, so stop it." And he basically convinces Bertinelli by letting the bomb get to 1 second to like promise that he'll try and calm everything down. So that's kind of that big scene. And then we kind of get into like Dick at school and the social services ladies like there to keep an eye on him. And there's this bully kid that tries to pick a fight, and Dick like imagines punching the shit out of him, but he kind of is like, "Crap, I have to hold back. I can't." Especially since that lady's there. But then she notices some bruises on his arms, and he's like, "Oh, I got into a fight in school," and like the teacher's like, "There's no fights here. Our kids are all well behaved." So Dick intentionally writes a note to provoke the bully to come over and punch him, so that it looks like it is indeed stuff that's happened on the playground. Which I really love, because he's got like the frozen peas on his face in the next scene, and Bruce is like, "I'm proud of you for thinking on your feet, Dick. That was really smart thinking to convince them that was a playground issue." I don't know. I got amused by this entire sequence of events.
There was just the punch, right? And then he goes, "See, geez, what a guy got to do to get believed around here." And it's like, bro, you just manufactured all of that. That's so funny.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. It is fun watching him having to try and skirt this line of being convincing to this social services lady, but obviously he naturally just gets a lot of like bruises and stuff from being Robin. So it's like, how do you explain this? So you've got that, and then there's a scene where Two-Face goes to see Clayface and remarks on him trying to look like Two-Face, and so they have a bit of a conversation. But he's basically like, "Hey, they're going to betray you. Grimaldi's not got a cure for you. You know, like, it's not going to happen. If anything, you know, he's planning on killing you. Yada yada yada." And he says he can prove it. So he's like, "I'm listening." So so that's developing. That's going somewhere. But the big end of the issue is that there's some guys working from Grimaldi going after someone on a hit list, someone with money that could, rival Grimaldi in some way. And they kill this guy, this Jim Krause, and then the next name on the list is Bruce Wayne, which was set up earlier on because Bruce mentioned that he noticed he was being followed by someone, and he was letting it play out to see what happens. So they're coming for Bruce Wayne. They have no idea he's Batman, of course. They're just going after him for his status in society or whatnot. But that's what we end the issue on.
And this gets pretty dark though too, because it seems like they're going fishing with this kid. The Krause guy that gets killed, because he's at the table too. So really going there. Grimaldi ain't playing. So, but yeah, no, just wait. This was so nice to have back, because this is a fun Batman and Robin book, and just the interplay between Bruce and Dick here. It's really becoming more what we expect, as Bruce is learning to deal with Dick, and Dick is learning to deal with Bruce. So him being like, I'm proud of you for figuring all that together. Keeping your cover. So their relationship's progressing as well, which was nice.
Yeah, Bruce has learned to use Dick effectively.
Yes, he has. Also, Alfred saying that they can't have peas with dinner because the peas have been used. And we get that the dialogue bubble that just says, comedy, and it's got like the icicles hanging from it.
Yeah.
Just a joy to read.
Yeah, no, there's a great tone to this book. It has that kind of old school, like we're in a period piece kind of thing that Samnee's art really brings to the table. It's very expressive. I mean, his art's been fantastic in this entire series, and obviously, I think we were happy they took the month or two off to like let him keep up to date so that he could do every issue, because it would be lesser without it. It's really solid stuff. And, like even just that last page with the colors popping against the silhouetted gunman who just killed this family. It just like there's a mood to it. All the stuff with Grimaldi arguing at the start. There's just a lot noir kind of like playfulness to the way everything looks, and it kind of fits the it really enhances the story. Like sometimes art just is good enough, and sometimes it actually raises the story up, and I think that's what it's doing in Batman and Robin. So what are you giving Batman and Robin year one?
I mean, it was an 8.5.
Oh yeah, I think I'll agree with that. I think I'd be going with the 9 if it just felt like it was more of a, like, I think everything in here is good, but they do, like, it's fairly separate plot things. You know, it's like Grimraldi and Clayface, then Clayface and Two-Face is one thing, and then Batman and Robin or in Dick stuff's like kind of separate things. But that's like a minor quibble. I'm basically just saying this is why it's not like amazing, but it's great.